Good evening and welcome to Triad News. I'm Jack Cruz.
And I'm Alexis Austin. Coming up next, a live interview from an independent reporter in Cairo, Egypt.
He'll share his country's reaction to last Palm Sunday bombings.
And we'll have a report on the drug problem in High Point.
But first, let's go to Triad weather person Todd Uckermark to see how it's going to get. Todd?
Hey guys. Well, we were lucky that it was warm and sunny for the Easter Bunny, but it's going to be a pain this next week because it's going to rain. So don't forget your umbrella and make sure you stay out there, but I'll see you coming up later on the forecast.
The ancient country of Egypt has been the scene of wars and racial attacks for centuries.
This past Palm Sunday, Egypt's Coptic community was the target of several ISIS attacks on one of the holiest days in Christian faith.
49 were killed and dozens severely injured as bombs exploded inside two churches packed with parishioners, celebrating Palm Sunday.
Coptic Christians make up about 10% of Egypt's 91 million people.
Joining us in Studio B is Tribe News reporter Amy He, who has been talking with an independent journalist in Egypt who has been covering the story. Amy?
Thank you, Alexis and Jack. Joining in via Skype from Cairo, Egypt is our reporter Wahil Eskanda. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's about 7 o'clock in North Carolina right now, which is about 1 o'clock in the morning in Cairo, right? Thanks for staying up to talk with us. Wahil, what was the reaction in Cairo and all over Egypt after this latest attack?
Well, there have been two recent attacks, one in Alexandria and one in Tanta, where suicide bombers blew themselves up and killed several people. And it was directly targeted against the Coptic community. And it was very, very upsetting to a lot of people who feel that the government has been unable to protect them and that the Islamist rhetoric of sectarianism has actually prevailed. And these extremists have managed to actually send in suicide bombers and without protection from the state at all. So it's very upsetting, and there's a lot of anger at the security forces who were unable to contain such attacks, and as well as sorrow because it happened during Passion Week, a very important week for the Coptic Christians in Egypt.
So how are things over there right now? Are there riots or anything?
There are no riots. There's an extreme sense of sadness, but also today there has been another attack in the St. Catherine Monastery in Sinai by ISIS-led militants against a checkpoint there and the police guarding a monastery. And so this has been really shocking as these continues attacks. So we're not close to seeing these attacks done yet, and they will continue to prevail because so far the government is taking policies that are actually enabling extremism and terror, but with a rhetoric that they are fighting terror. So we might really be seeing an escalation of more extremist activities that target minorities, particularly Coptic Christians.
Okay, so now there's a 3-month state of emergency. What do you think about that?
Well, we've been living in a state of emergency even though it was not actually announced to be a state of emergency. There are a lot of forced disappearances in Egypt, torture, murder by the police forces, impunity, and they've been able to detain people for long periods without trial. The most recent is Ayah Ghazi, who has been in pretrial detention for 3 years for trying to help street children, and she was just recently acquitted. So what we're seeing is that the government is using a different rhetoric other than the war on terror. It's just a state of emergency. But it will bring us no closer to a democratic society and justice. So it feels like an excuse to oppress even more people because that is the style of rule in Egypt.
So the Christian church had a Easter celebration on Sunday. Did you happen to be there joining them?
I did not join the celebrations that happened with Easter. I was actually I'm pretty not happy about the way the church has been handling their support for the Sisi regime, which has been actually a very, very blatant support of it, despite the regime's crimes and it's mass oppression. So I haven't been attending that. However, we have been celebrating in our community nevertheless.
Thank you so much. That's all for now. Back to you guys.
Acting on a tip, Egyptian police arrested Ali Mahmoud Mohammed Hassan, one of 19 suspects whose name police made public after the Palm Sunday explosions.
Many of Egypt's Christians are Coptic, a centuries-old sect influenced by apostle and evangelist Mark.
They believe Mark to have brought the teachings of Christ to that country in the 1st century of AD. The rise of drug use within the High Point community has police and the community very concerned.
There have been 8 homicides and over 50 opioid-induced overdoses since 2017 began.
Triad News reporter Courtney Leopold sat down with one of High Point's recovering heroin addicts who told her about how she got started and the tough choices she had to make.
And heroin use across the United States has left communities fractured and broken. The rise in High Point has led to more violence and poverty. Brandy, a recovering heroin addict since 2012, knows the reason.
It's all right there. Why can we not get the ADS back open and help people? It's like people, I know they don't want to be like that the rest of their life. There's a lot of people that want to change, but it's like, do I pay money to get on the bus to go all the way to Greensboro, or I just go get my fix? I don't have to go nowhere down the road.
The methadone clinics save lives, something Caring Services in High Point is trying to combat every single day with putting Narcan on the streets.
What I'm seeing is a lot of sick people that are living with a disease that they don't know how to manage or what to do about. There's no resources for them. They don't know how to get clean injection equipment. They don't know how to get naloxone. If they want treatment, they're not sure where to go. So it's a lot of people really struggling.
Brittany was 19 when she began using opioids for a leg injury. She was spending close to $100 a day on oxys, which led her to heroin at a very young age. She is now in her late 30s with 5 children at home.
Now I feel like the worst mother of the world, but it was like I was a mom, but I was a skeleton mom. I lived for heroin. If I didn't have that, it was the worst day ever because you start getting sick and stuff. I didn't know the sickness was going to be so bad and stuff, so.
12, Brandy overdosed on heroin.
The last time I shot up, I more or less OD'd, and I blacked out. Once I shot up, I blacked out. I don't remember nothing. All I remember is my baby. He was maybe a year and a half, 2 years old, knocking on the bathroom door and his fingers under the door, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." When I remember I woke up, I'm like, I'm done.
The decision to get clean led Brandy to the methadone clinic in High Point, which due to funding cuts has been closed.
Like ADS not being open in High Point. High Point is the main thing, the way I feel. High Point is the main city. Heroin, the gangs, the drugs. It's all right there. Why can we not get the ADS back open and help people?
To take drugs or to take the bus, a decision that Brandy has followed through since the day she's become clean.
A new person, like a renewed mother, is what I feel like. Like I've been reborn again to another body, even though I'm not.
For Triad News, Courtney Leopold.
That was Triad News reporter Courtney Leopold with the story.
Brandy is clean and has stayed determined since 2012 to stay that way.
She still takes the bus weekly to Greensboro to get methadone. She was one in thousands within High Point using heroin.
With over 72 overdoses since 2017 began, the drug use within the community does not look to slow down anytime soon. A High Point man had a very eventful Easter morning that didn't include going to church. Police responded to shots fired near Triangle Lake Montessori Elementary School, and when they approached, the suspect tried to throw his gun, but ended up shooting himself in the thigh. The unnamed man was then arrested and charged with a few misdemeanors. No police were harmed. The PR nightmare for United Airlines just seems to keep getting worse.
A scorpion fell out of an overhead bin onto a passenger and stung him.
That follows the very viral video of the Chinese doctor being dragged off of a United flight.
But with all this going on, are people going to stop flying? Joining us live at the Piedmont Airport in Greensboro is Triad News reporter Jackie Shi. Jackie?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Triad News. This is Jackie Shi. I'm doing a live report at Piedmont Triad International Airport. So last Sunday, there was a horrible and shocking event took place on a United flight. a passenger is being dragged off the plane because the flight was overbooked, and the airline company was trying to save 4 spots for its employees. And I interviewed with 2 random passengers yesterday. One of them said she's going to still fly with United Airlines because it has the best reward program, and the other person said, no, I'm not going to fly with United anymore. So as you can see, the ticket counter of United Airlines is behind me. There is a passenger checking in right now. So after that, it triggers a series of other funny stuff. People from the internet says, so why beat our competitors since we can beat our customers? And they come out with like the United Online Transportation Services, which you book the ticket online, and there will be a pilot come to your house, drag you to the destiny. And so that's all. Back to you guys in studio.
Regardless of all the troubles plaguing airlines recently, people will still get on the plane.
Alexis, they have places to go and people to see.
They just hope that they don't have any unusual issues during their trip. Thank you, Jackie.
After months of waiting, April the giraffe has finally given birth to a baby boy. The calf was born Saturday morning after a 2-hour-long labor. Both mom and baby are doing great, according to Animal Adventure Park owner Jordan Patch. The calf does not have a name yet because the park is holding a contest to vote for the name. The money raised during the contest will go towards giraffe conservation. The zoo is also planning to take down the live camera because April hurt her leg recently.
North Korea has consistently issued threats of war toward the United States in recent years, but the Trump administration announced an end of the strategic patience policy.
North Korea has upped the ante in terms of warnings. A UN deputy representative unleashed a torrent of threats, war scenarios, and rhetoric aimed at the U.S.
A report from the Governor's Highway Safety Association finds pedestrian fatalities are increasing at the fast pace in 40 years.
The safety group estimates as many as 6,000 pedestrians died in 2016. The latest figures show fatalities up 25% when compared to the same time as last year.
There are more cars on the road and smartphone distractions among both drivers and pedestrians, which have led to the increase.
When we come back, a special report on autism awareness and how a food truck is making an impact in our nation's capital.
We'll be right back.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Triad News. I'm Jack Cruz.
And I'm Alexis Austin.
Investigators are seeking leads to determine who is responsible for destroying 2 Rockingham mailboxes with what appears to be homemade explosive devices.
The Rockingham County Sheriff's Office was called on Sunday on a report that a mailbox had been destroyed by what appears to have been a homemade explosive device.
Evidence of the explosive device was collected from the crime scene, and the United States Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Agency has been brought into the investigation at this time.
And people are thinking about their gardens.
Time to break out the shovels and start figuring out what to plant.
But not every garden is in the backyard.
Some are a community all to themselves.
Triad News reporter Sydney Chevron is live at one garden where families come together and swap their secrets of a great garden. Sydney?
This is Sydney Chevron live outside the West End Ministries Community Garden. As you can see behind me, many folks are in here gardening. And as the temperatures go up, so do the number of community gardens opening. Now, the city of High Point used to be the #1 food desert in the country, but has now dropped to #9. And that number has dropped significantly because of these food gardens that allow people to grow their own fresh produce and bring it home for their families to eat. Now, some produce that you may see popping up in community gardens over the month of April are beans, beets, cabbage, broccoli, lettuce, onions, peas, potatoes, and spinach. So that's a lot of produce just in the month of April. So as the season continues on through May and the summer, we're going to see a lot more produce popping up in these community gardens, which is great for the community to bring home that fresh produce to their families. This has been Sydney Chevron outside the West End Ministries Community Garden. Now back to you in the studio.
Jack, I don't know about you, but community gardens look to be so much more fun.
Yeah, I mean, you get to chat with your neighbor, trade gardening secrets, and just enjoy the warm sun.
The season is just starting up, so we will definitely see more produce in the coming months. Thank you, Sydney.
We come back, plans for a new team in town.
And as temperatures increase, should there be any concern for how little rain we've gotten? Triad weather person Todd Uckermark will have his forecast when we come back.
Medicine? Oh gosh, I forgot it. Her nurse. You need a claim number? Her personal assistant. Let me just grab her housekeeper. Her cook. Her accountant. When I started taking care of Mom, I didn't realize the challenge of playing so many roles. But above all, I'm still her daughter.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving to connect with experts and other caregivers. Together we can better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Welcome back to Triad News. I'm Jack Cruz.
And I'm Alexis Austin. We're getting to those warm, hot summer days.
Great time to get outside and just enjoy the weather.
I agree. Joining us in studio is Triad weather person Todd Uckermark. How hot will it get?
Hey guys, well unfortunately it won't get too hot out this upcoming week. Luckily this past weekend the Easter Bunny came up and with our little hot weather system we made sure, or high weather system, we made sure to get some hot weather for the holiday. But unfortunately you can see that there's a low pressure system pushing in some rainy weather coming in through the west. If we look at the country's other weather patterns, you can see up top that it's a little colder as the low pressure pushes through the middle of the country. It starts to warm up down lower by Mexico and Texas. And as we start coming over, you see everything starts kind of evening out. And you can see in North Carolina, it's staying around the 60s and the 70s. But you know, the trees outside are losing are just getting more and more of their beautiful flowers on them. So if we go to the upcoming weather for the week, you can see that there's a lot of rain coming. So make sure you keep on your umbrellas. And from Tuesday all the way through next Monday, you can see it's going to be around 60, 69, and then finally on the last Tuesday in the 7-week forecast, it's going to be sunny again. And remember, guys, just because smiling won't bring the sun, just because the sun won't come because you smile, your smile might bring some sunlight to somebody's life. So enjoy the weather and have a great spring.
Thanks, Todd. There's a new game in town.
And it's coming to a neighborhood near downtown High Point. I took a tour of the area where the new ball players will call home.
Point City Council approved the purchase of land in the downtown area at a meeting on Monday night. Downtown High Point is set to get a $30 million multi-purpose stadium. The The stadium will be built on a site bordered by Elm, Gatewood, Lindsay, and English streets. It will seat approximately 5,000 for baseball and 7,500 for concerts and other events. Construction will begin as early as fall 2017, and the first game could be scheduled for spring 2019.
The city plans to borrow money with hopes of using ticket sales, naming rights, and stadium rentals to help repay the cost.
The City Council hopes the stadium will bring in new restaurants, residents, and other businesses. Up next, a recap of the past Easter weekend for sports and a rivalry volleyball match.
Okay. It's a cool night tonight here at the baseball game. We have both the High Point Panthers and the UNCG Spartans facing off tonight. This is the first meeting this year between both teams. They were supposed to be meeting up this year early on in the year, but it was rained out for a season earlier in the season. Both teams are fighting for their higher seed in the conference. The Panthers are 19-16 overall, and the Greensboro Spartans are 22-14. Through three innings, the High Point Panthers are leading 1-0 over the UNCG Spartans, with Josh Green bringing in the only run in so far, giving the Panthers a 1-0 lead. We are currently in the bottom of the fourth inning, where the High Point Panthers are up to bat, and we only have a couple runners on base right now. We have a runner on third and first base. Send it back. Oh, and we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio now.
Welcome back to Triad News. I'm Jack Cruz.
And I'm Alexis Austin.
The NCAA released the locations for the NCAA men's basketball tournament for 2019 through the 2022 seasons.
With recent controversy surrounding large events being pulled from North Carolina due to HPU and a recent repeal of the law, Greensboro has landed a first and second round bid from the NCAA as a Coliseum for the 2020 season.
Good financial news for North Carolina, but how are the High Point University sports teams doing?
Joining us now is Triad sports reporter Kelsey Khrushchevsky with the latest. Kelsey?
Thanks, Jack and Alexis. This past weekend, the High Points women's lacrosse team set a school record for goals in a 25-7 win against Liberty. They are now on an 11-game winning streak, which is the second longest in the nation. With the win, the Panthers are one of the top 2 seeds in the Big South and have received a bye past the quarterfinals of the conference tournament on Wednesday. HPU will take on Campbell at Vert Stadium at 6 p.m. The winner of that match will be at the top seed and the host of the Big South tournament. The losing streak continued for the High Point men's lacrosse team as the Panthers fell to the Furman Paladins by a score of 13-8 last Saturday. Senior midfielder Nick Basile led the way for the Panthers with 3 goals and an assist. The Panthers have now dropped 4 straight games and have yet to win in April. The Panthers will look to rebound in their second to last regular season game as they take on the Dolphins in Jacksonville this Saturday. HPU track and field competed at the Phoenix Invite on Saturday in Elon. The women picked up wins in 6 events while the men grabbed 2. Senior Jamie Shunk broke the school record in the hammer throw for the second consecutive week. For the men, sophomore Alejandro Juan Torres and senior Vinny Tornado finished first and second in the 800 meters. Next weekend, most of the Panthers will head to Durham for the Duke Invitational, while a select few will be chosen to compete at the Virginia Challenge in Charlottesville, Virginia. The High Point women's golf team is in sixth place after the first day of the Big South Championship. The Panthers shot a first-round total of 304 and are now strokes behind Winthrop for 4th place. Freshman Samantha Vaudry is tied for 4th after shooting 1 over for a 73. Second-round action continues today. The final round will take place on Wednesday morning. The men's golf team will tee it up for their Big South Championship this Friday through Sunday at the Patriot Golf Club in 96, South Carolina. The High Point University men's baseball team took 2 out of 3 this past weekend against the UNC Asheville Bulldogs at Vert Stadium. It was the 3rd straight series win in the Big South Conference for the Panthers, putting them 6th place in the Big South and 19-16 overall this season. Back to you all.
High Point University men's volleyball took to the courts. Regular season or just a scrimmage, when you play the crosstown rivals, the game is always a little bit more serious.
The scrimmage against Elon was short and quick. HPU took all 3 sets. Zach Schnur led the Panthers with 14 kills, while Tyler Mayer led with 21 digs.
The HPU season is officially over, but next year they have aspirations to go to nationals.
Score 1 for HPU.
3 straight sets. Not bad.
But nationals are a long way away. Good luck, guys.
The NFL Carolina Panthers signed Kawan Short, their franchise player, to a 5-year contract extension on Monday.
The new contract keeps the Pro Bowl defensive tackle with the team through the 2021 season. The deal is worth $80 million, according to a person familiar with the negotiations. When we come back, High Point loses a strong representative.
We'll be right back.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Triad News. I'm Jack Cruz.
And I'm Alexis Austin.
A representative with deep ties to the Triad died of cancer over the weekend.
Representative Paul Lubeck of Durham served in the House for the past 25 years. Leaders remember him as a strong and consistent liberal voice.
He served full-time as a professor at UNC Greensboro. Lubeck was one of the longest-serving House members. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure doing it with you, Jack, and I hope you guys tune in tomorrow, and have a great night.
Good night.